Hello, my name is Lord Surtr and I'm here with another Abyssal Explainer. So this time we're gonna showcase the 5 different Abyssal weather types. So when you enter the Abyss, you have a choice of 5 different filaments, 5 different weather types. You have Dark, you've got Electrical, you've got Exotic, you have Firestorm, and you have Gamma. Now those 5 have very different characteristics, very different effects that they apply to the environment. And so there's also like 6 different tiers, but technically 7 if you count tier 0. So it is critical, believe me, critical to use a filament that your ship is built for. If you take the wrong one, you can be back in your station very quickly, and none of that is your fault. Just please pay attention to this here, that you in the filament name and such, that you double check before you enter, because once you're in, there's only one, no, there's 2 ways of coming out. One is with the ship and with loot, the other one is without anything. So the weather types, they all apply to the player's ship and the NPC's ships as well. Everything in there suffers equally. So at tier 0 to 3, you have like a chance to get a minus 30% penalty or a minus 50% penalty room. Tiers 4 to 6, you get the minus 50% as the lower end, and you get a chance to get also the minus 70% room, which can be rather harsh. So we're going to get into a dark here. So I'm going to run a dark filament in the background. So a dark matter field is kind of special. I mean, they all are, but you got 50% maximum velocity bonus. So here you're gonna go very fast, but so do the NPCs, which does mean that it indirectly hurts tracking and your transversal a bit, or your inertia. If you want to stop, you're gonna go faster, so it takes you longer to stop, it takes you longer to turn your ship, it takes you longer to, adjust your speed essentially. Also, the dark speed clouds here are notorious, especially if you're on a macro warp drive in dark. If you see a white cloud, stay clear, unless you specifically want to abuse it. So dark also gives a minus 30%, minus 50%, or minus 70%, depending on the tier and the chance you get, on turret fall off and optimal. Optimal and fall off are debuffed in dark. So most turret ships don't do very well in here. Now that only applies to turrets. And note that it does not directly affect tracking. Tracking is fine. The only tracking that will suffer in here is because of the speed bonus, indirectly. So this debuff against fall off and optimal range does not apply to missiles, which is why you see so many missile ships running dark abyssals, or photon projectors. The reason I also do not advise any like drone ships in dark is the drones get the speed buff. They are super fast in here. So are the enemy. That means that they have like a tiny window when they're macro warp driving towards their target to get a shot off before they're way out of range, and then they have to do the same again. So they're basically gonna go back and forth, and they're not gonna hit very well unless it's a battleship, but you get the point, right? Drone ships, it's possible you can complete them with a drone boat at the low tiers, but it is not going to be optimal and it's not meant for it. So with drone ships, I would not enter Dark Abyss. Turret ships, there are a few exceptions, but yeah, that's not something we're gonna discuss right here. So let's move on to the next filament. So here we are in a electrical filament. So this effect is called electrical storm. Here you can get away with a lot of stuff, capacitor wise at least, because you get a 50% capacitor recharge bonus. So this allows very cap hungry fits to shine. So this is, in my opinion, considered the easiest filament to fly. You also get a EM resistance penalty of like 30%, 50%, 70%, depending on the tier and the role. So a lot of ships that are not cap stable, not even close, outside of the electrical filament, as soon as they enter become super stable. Like this one has only 2 minutes cap, and in here I have 49.6% cap stability. And here we are in the exotic weather type. So now the effect that I have applied to everything in here is the exotic particle storm effect. So I'm currently in a minus 30% kinetic resistance room. So what this effect essentially does is you get a minus 30%, minus 50% or minus 70% room. Chances on those depend on the tiers. And the other effect would be to increase scan resolution by 50%. To be honest, it doesn't really affect anything. Like you're gonna lock a frigate 0.1 second faster, or like it does not affect much. So this is also a passive shield tank fit, but that's not the point here. It decreases kinetic resist, so I still got 45 in here. This is a minus 30% room. This effect is favored by a lot of Kaldari ships, because of the fact that a lot of Kaldari missile boats specifically have a bonus to kinetic, like the Corax. So in here you are actually hitting the same boosted damage as the effect of the filament. So that's a double whammy. So Cerberus does really well in here, Hila does well in here, any Gurisa ship, most Kaldari missile ships as well. So this is a Firestorm filament. So Firestorm, the effect is called Plasma Firestorm. So you do get 50% more armor HP, armor hit points. That means the enemy does as well. The NPCs profit from the same stuff. So bear in mind that Triglavian ships, for example, they will have a lot of armor. Deep Watchers will have a lot of armor. Yeah, this is definitely considered the hardest filament. So because of all the extra hit points and HP, you have to, of course, be aware of the timer. Quite often you will run closer to the timer in Firestorms, because much more armor makes them a lot harder to kill. So you also get the minus 30%, minus 50% or minus 70% resistance penalty. It makes things a lot harder. So 50% armor HP bonus to everything in here, and minus 30% thermal resistance in this one. This is just a tier 1. So you really don't want to take the wrong ship into a Firestorm Abyssal. So my thermal resist on these algos is 37% now, but it's a lot more brutal in the higher tiers. So here we are with the Gamma Ray Afterglow weather effect in the Abyssal Dead Space. This is the Gamma site. So this is the preferred filament, the preferred weather type for passive shield tanks. As you can see what I'm flying here. So this essentially gives 50% more shield, plus 50% shield hit points. So essentially it comes down to 150% of your shield total hit points in here. It does apply to both the player and the NPCs. This is better for passive shield tanks, so the shield HP bonus of course helps massively. So you've got also the 3 different strengths of the room in here. You've got the minus 30%, minus 50%, and minus 70% explosive resistance penalties here. The 30 and 50% you'll find in tiers 0 to 3, and tiers 4 to 6 will have an option to spawn the minus 70% rooms, which can actually be hurting a little bit more. So what that actually does is it decreases your shield explosive recharge while you're in here. And that is gonna be it for the weather types. So make sure to use the right ship for the right filament and check which one you're entering. Not all ships run all filaments. So take care. So please like and subscribe, and you can find me on Twitch and Kick, and I will see you in the next one.